Yo. Hey everyone, welcome to my chakra series. This is the first video on the root chakra and grounding. It's a little funny that this is coming up. I've recently had a pretty powerful visionary experience that's typically categorized by the opening of the brow and crown chakra. I've been writing it down into a book that I'm going to try to make available on the channel at some point when it's done. But it's funny because often when we get up in our heads or up in the clouds, if we're having trouble getting back in touch with reality, and or even worse, have no interest in being in touch with reality or what others, as often it can seem in those states, what others consider their reality, but is not, our reality. And I find that when we get stuck in such states, the universe tends to find a way to bring me, certainly, but I think probably you too, back down into the thick of things. And recently, very recently, I've had some drama, and that sucks, like it always does. But through the downslope, we can embrace the down and dirty nature of life and not necessarily abandon ourselves to our own drama or other people's drama. Mine is being aloof and just being vicious when I stop caring about honor and compassion and kindness and morality. And through embracing our darkest and dirtiest natures, we can see who we really are comparatively. We can see ourselves as not apart from the ground, not apart from the earth, not apart from the lower aspects of our existence and the lower aspects of reality, but that we are a part of those things, and through them, our better nature can rise up through the soil. So let's get to the chakra series. Today I'm sitting down because the exercise I want to take you through, I do a lot better with sitting down. I'm trying to start doing it now so that the spirit of this exercise can kind of rise up through me into the video and hopefully help you out today. Today we have the root chakra, or the Muladhara in Sanskrit. My wife has been helping me practice the Sanskrit pronunciation. I hope I am not brutally butchering it, but I very well might be. The explanation of the root chakra is actually pretty quick. And when I say root, and you, the watcher, are a relatively smart human being, you can probably intuit where this is going. So I'm going to go there for like a little bit, but in the interest of making this video interesting, after we do that, I want to do sort of a explanation and an introduction to an exercise about the root chakra called grounding that I can take you to. So let's talk about the chakra, and let's talk about what chakras are before we get too deep into things. So chakra means wheel in Sanskrit. That's basically the translation in English. But the word chakra has energetic connotations to it that are understood by all of the languages that use chakra when it is spoken in connotation with energy work. Again, in English, we don't have a lot of one-for-one translations for some of the energetic words, or just words that were used to describe energetic things by older civilizations. So the old seers, the mystics, the energy workers, dating all the way back through hundreds or thousands of years, maybe even all the way into antiquity, they knew how to see chi. They knew how to see this energy, whether they called it chi or prana or life force energy or inner light or like whatever they called it. There were people who, when discovering things like chakras, knew how to see this with their eyes. I'm not bad at seeing it with my eyes, but I am not to the point where I can see wheels that people have. So these wheels, these energy centers they saw were aligned with the physical placement of our organ centers within our body. So, though a chakra may have metaphysical properties, and I know, like, if you've ever done a web search about this, or you ever heard, energy practitioners talking about chakras, they tend to focus on the metaphysical properties. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but I just want to comment on this because I want to say the reasons that chakras function as they do is because they are in part a component of physical energy systems. And when I say physical energy systems, I mean organs. They're in the places and interact and intersect with the organ systems in the body. So how does this apply to the root chakra? Well, your root chakra is right where your coccyx is, at the very tip of the bottom of your torso. It's right in the middle. It's basically nestled right at the end, sort of like cradled by the bottom of your tailbone. While your sex organs are in the general area of what we're talking about right now, the pleasurable part of the metaphysics that cover those areas are typically embodied in the sacral chakra, which is the one that's next up. The root is responsible for survival, for your placement in the physical world. It connects you with reality, and because it exists and because you are a natural being with the natural world, it demands that you remember yourself as such, that you remember that you're not just an ideological being, you're not just a mental being, you're not just an emotional being, you are a physical being with a physical platform that has physical needs. So it's important, and the root chakra calls us, that part of our energetic balance calls us to give credence, give importance to your physical platform. So what does that mean? It means eat well, drink well, breathe well, get out of violent, dramatic situations if you can. Stand up for yourself. Don't let yourself get run over. Be firm, be strong, but know your place, know your situation, and survive within that situation. The root is a gentle yet firm reminder from the depths of our being that we are beings of depth. We are beings of context. We did not just fall off the tree like a coconut. The root calls us, and this is really hard, and this is probably the hardest thing. Once I started doing Reiki as a young man, this was probably the hardest thing to accept as the Reiki moved through me and started evolving me into, well, someone who is more geared towards Ray, towards greater good. And that's that the root calls us to find balance with our family and personal life. It doesn't call us to be walked over and be friends with everyone, no matter how they treat us. Indeed, it calls us to put up firm boundaries, and when we need to make threats of what will happen if those boundaries are not heeded, and then act upon them if that's what the need of you and the need of the situation call for. All of these things, the things I just described, that familial part of it, that relationship part of it, those are some of the hardest things to do in life. Putting up boundaries, making sure that you have solid connections, making sure that you're making peace with your family relatives so that you're not losing tons of energy, stressing out about them or raging about them when literally no one else is around and they're probably not even thinking of you in that moment. You know what I'm talking about, and you know how these things can be difficult. They bring us the most stress. They call forth the greatest conflicts with those we know and love and those we encounter and work with. And Yet, as difficult as facing some of these things can be, they're necessary, and that's why the energy system of the root chakra is very distinct, and it's very in your mind, and it will not leave you alone if there are things to be done. If there's things that you need to do that need to be done, it will not leave you alone. And there are ways to shut it up, like to shut up the voice with like alcohol and pleasure seeking behaviors and stuff like that. But the need of things is apparent if you can recognize it, and it will not leave you alone, which is why the root chakra, I think, needs to be addressed first, needs to be understood first, and it needs to be respected first. So, that may result in needing to overcome laziness or being spurned into action, or knowing your limits, knowing when to rest. That's a huge one for me, knowing when to let go, knowing when you've done enough. And that's just me in a nutshell, knowing that sometimes you've done too much. So I think everyone can understand that. Need is real. Survival is real. And I think it's right to start the chakra series with the root, because without it, the entire tower of our energetic and sometimes even physical life can kind of collapse before anything else can even really get started. So yeah, root chakra, a firm base, a solid foundation, even if it's not perfect, especially if it's not perfect. All right, so that's the basics. That's the physical aspect of the chakra. That's the metaphysical aspect of the chakra. Let's get to a little fun part and a little homework for the weekend before I let you go. So this is the first technique that my master taught me. When he taught me this, and I was just starting out in level 1 Reiki, I was a punk kid. I came in hot after leaving the church in my late teens. I thought I knew all I needed to know about God. I thought I was going to crush the world. I was going to get all the women. I was going to experience all the pleasure and really milk this thing for everything it was worth. And man, was I up in my head at the time. Being up in my head is just a general character flaw of mine. So my master, on top of the root chakra really being a good place to begin, I'm really glad that he taught me this technique as one of the first things. So it's called the grounding cord. Some people say close your eyes to meditate on this, but I use this when I'm stuck in traffic all the time. I use this when I argue with my wife. I use this when I'm nervous about having to say something to important people. I definitely don't use this technique as much as I should, considering how up in my head I can be, but I just want to share it with you so that you, as an energy practitioner, if you choose to use it, can have it in your repertoire. So imagine a cord, a chain connecting your coccyx, your root chakra, into the earth. And just in a downward direction is fine if you're stuck up in space or watching this from the International Space Station. Just down and using your imagination for the rest of the way is fine too. So imagine this cord seeping deep into the earth like a root system from a tree or from a fern or something. Down and down it goes, each root branch clutching the soil, locking itself in. The roots go deeper in, branching, clutching, holding, grasping, and digging deeper into the earth, and latching on and going even deeper. And as this is going down, imagine the staticky energy of your worry, your anxiety, your woes, your struggles. Just imagine them going down into the cord. And imagine them seeping out through the branches into the earth, dissipating, and even branching out and waving out from being released from the end points of the roots into the earth, dissipating further. So through just that, you can relieve a lot of tension that is going on in your body by sending it out through that root cord. If you want to get a little crazy, and I know I always do, you can imagine these root branches going all the way down to the earth's core. And once they touch the core, you can imagine your worries, stresses, whatever is bothering you, going into the roots all the way down, touching the core. And as soon as they touch the core, poof, evaporating with the heat. Understand that the earth thanks you for that. And if you can, when you feel it going all the way down and you feel the energy of the earth burn up your stress, imagine the earth thanking you, because the earth loves that kind of energy as long as it's sent with good intention, because it can take, just imagine it taking that energy, taking all that stress, burning it up or seeping into the soil, and it reinforcing the soil so that, flowers can grow, and help other people. That's what grounding does. It can help you connect with reality, and it can help you dump some of the contextual problems that we all face into the womb of Mother Earth, or divine femininity, however you want to view it. And that energy, that divineness, or whatever you want to call it, that can take that energy and turn it into something good. And you don't have to worry about that. Because I know I do. I know when I first started doing this grounding technique, I was worried I was poisoning the earth with my crap. And I had to learn that it loves that stuff. The energy down there loves that stuff, and it uses it, well, for fuel. So some people say that when you're messing around with that energy down there, that heat energy that can be found deep in the Earth's core, you're actually tuning into Kundalini energy. I started drawing that energy up from the core into me, and using it to help with my ambition, help with my laziness, help with my procrastinating attitude towards things that I knew needed to be done. And when I say need to be done, I also mean hobbies. Like, if you have no life and you've been meaning to do something that brings you joy, need can be the right word for it. So it's all those things. And that energy, that fire, for me, is really good sometimes when I am stressed and feeling down in the dumps, because it helps give me that bit of light that can sometimes carry me through the darkest times. So don't be afraid of that light, and don't be afraid to access it by dumping your stress on Mother Nature or the divine, caregiving energy, whatever you want to call it, because it's there for you. And that passion and that light and that fire is also there for you if you're someone like me who sometimes needs to have a fire lit under your butt in order to get going. So thanks, you guys. I know this has been a long video, but I really wanted to get this one right because it's really important, and the root is very important to me and was a very important part of my training. So thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. Try some grounding, and we'll do sacral next. Have a good one.